The Gundvolva from Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury. This is essentially a drone or an unmanned weapon. It's a Gund bid in Gundam form. The idea of swarm weapons or drones or even funnels like we would have seen in older Gundam series being in the shape of a Gundam is an absolutely awesome idea, and the way that the Witch from Mercury is going with this is pretty damn cool. So when it comes to the actual kit, I thought this might be a little bit of a stripped down kit compared to the Gundams we would have seen before, but that is not the case. This is another incredible Witch from Mercury release. There is, however, one bit of an issue I am having with it, which I will talk about a little bit later, but on the whole, this is absolutely beautiful. As usual, this video right here would not have been possible without those absolutely awesome people over at Hobbylink Japan, so if you want a high-grade Gundvolva for yourself, the link will be down there in the description. Also, we'll mention there is another couple of absolutely awesome releases from The Witch from Mercury this week, including some action-based sixes with stickers so you can stick your mobile suits on a character base, which is pretty cool. Acrylic stands of both Suletta and Miorine so you can pop them beside your high-grade collection. And some charms of the Figure Rise box arts, which is something I have never seen before, and I'd love to see more Gundam box art charms. Anyway, let's check out the Gundvolva. So when it comes to the aesthetics, this looks fantastic yet again, just like we've come to expect from the high-grade Witch from Mercury line. Now once again, like I mentioned, I thought because this was a drone unit and something that maybe you would want to build multiple times over, Bandai would kind of make this something like a simpler kit compared to the Gundams and mobile suits we would have seen before, but that definitely is not the case. Now this wouldn't be as detailed as something like the Rubris or the two versions of the Ariel, but this is definitely up there with the Rubris or the Rubris Thorn we would have seen before. Even a little bit better than those two, ever so slightly. Lore-wise, the Gundvolvas are variants of the prototype Rubrises from the prologue of The Witch from Mercury, just like we would have seen with the Ur and the Thorn, but the Gundvolva right here definitely looks more like those latter two suits. This kit features all of what we would have seen from this line so far, especially in regard to the Gundams. We do have a shell unit in the head and the chest. There's a ridiculous amount of detail all over this suit, especially in the legs, which are some of the coolest Witch from Mercury legs that I've seen so far. And we do have the nice layering of parts, meaning the grey parts from the inner frame segments are coming through to the surface of the armor. This is gorgeous. There's a little bit of a side-by-side of the Gundvolva beside the official art, and as far as I can see right here, this is 100% color accurate. Maybe the art looks a little bit more dead when it comes to the color tones, but that could be just to do with the kind of color grading in the series to some degree. But otherwise, pretty damn close, a little bit more vivid. So when it comes to the color accuracy on the Gundvolva right here, there are a couple of stickers involved, but as you can see, they're nothing too critical. Nothing is on any of the outer plastic, and it's mainly stuff like inside of that glorious looking shell unit right there. So when it does come to the stickers, number one is on the head there, tucked deep inside that head camera section. With number 2 here, you have a choice, and same to a degree with this big one up here, number 5. Number 5 is the shell unit in the chest. This is the shell unit in the head, so you have a choice of black for off. I went with the activated shell unit right here, so you can see it inside of that clear part, and there is the one in the chest. Now, if you don't use the one inside of the chest, that will probably be just some more kind of purple part, but I like the look of the activated shell unit. Number 4 right there, that's the typical one for using on the eyes. These are in yellow, which is very classic Gundam. And finally then we do have number 6, and that one is for using in the sight segment of the beam carbine right here, which we'll be taking a look at a little later. So as for a bit of a size comparison with the entire high-grade Witch from Mercury line, there it is beside the high-grade Gundam Rubris, Gundam Ariel Rebuild, Thorn, Ur, Michaelis, Begir Beu, Begir Pente, Hindri Sturm, Gundam Ferract, Zoort on Tikbalang, Zoort Heavy, Guels Delanza Sol, Choo Choo's Demi Trainer, and finally, the Demi Barding. But yeah, the Gundvolva is an absolutely beautiful kit, but what really strikes me about this compared to everything else is the design of the leg. Everything else is very nice, as you can see, but the leg here has something very nice, but it also has something very not nice. So I'm going to start with the not nice. This heel right here is meant to be on a pivot, like we would have seen with all of these kits so far, but for whatever reason this is way too tight. So it's kind of working right now, going side to side, but when I attached it on, it was super tight on both feet as well, to the point it feels like it's stressing out that peg, which kind of has 2 holes through it, so feels like a bit of a break risk. If you have this kit, let me know, is that going on with yours? Also, we've got one mammoth of a C-clip in here. Like, I mean, that's a big C-clip, the likes of which I haven't seen before either, so I'm not sure how that will hold up. But besides that, the cool aspect about this is the knee. This has a knee moving gimmick in a high grade, and I'm blown away. We've got a 2-point bend for one of the nicest Witch from Mercury knees. Yeah, look at that. The lower segment doesn't really move anything, but the upper one has a sliding knee mechanism. That is so cool and premium as all hell. Strange that it's just in the Gundvolva. Nice attachment point here in the hips as well for the pivot right here. So there is some nice designs in this particular kit. This right here is what comes inside of the box with the high-grade Gundvolva, and this is the usual Gundam loadout of sword, board, and beam rifle. The sword, of course, being a pair of beam sabers, this time once again in blue, the board being a shield, and this is a lot fancier than I expected it to be. Finally, the beam rifle here is the beam carbine. Again, a pretty nice accessory. So when it comes to the hands in here, all we have is this standard holding hands. Now I will mention, these just fall out really easy, so there isn't much flexion or extension on them before they just kind of go pop. So that is worth keeping in mind. It does get a little bit annoying while posing, but otherwise, these are just your standard holding hands. So when it comes to the beam sabers in here, these are very simple and do what they need to do, no more. The actual beam sabers themselves are a simple pair of grey handles with some tabs on them. The tab is for storage, not for holding. The beams are in that blue we've seen with a couple of these Witch from Mercury kits so far, and attaching them into the hand is super simple. They just slide on in just like so and hold on fine. You can do normal grip or reverse grip, and here's a combination of both so you can check out what it looks like. So the Gundvolva has some very nice articulation, so you will get some very nice poses with the beam sabers. And I will mention, because you guys always ask, this base I'm using right here, this is the Simple Stand by Good Smile Company. 3-pack of this is about $10 or $12 or euro. Super worth it, and my favorite stand for high grades. So speaking of the tabs on the side of these are for storage. So that does mean you just pop off the beam like so, and these can then be stored on the bottom of the shield, just like we would have seen with the other Urshin Gundams so far. So that's one. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to try and stick the other one on the other way around, just in case you want to get fun for some customs and have a mobile suit that can use its beams while the shield is attached. So you can kind of do that, but it comes out a little bit at an angle, but still pretty cool. But there is more to say about this shield, but I'll save that till after the beam carbine. Next up in here, we do have the beam carbine, which is a nice take on a beam rifle or beam machine gun. This is very simple, it's just made out of a couple of parts. It does have a sticker for on the side, but one of the coolest aspects about this is we do have an actual removable magazine, which I always do love. It just pops out like so. Attaching this weapon into the hand does involve the removing of the back of the hand, but if you're tenacious enough, you might be able to just like kind of wiggle it in there, and the back will kind of half pop off, and then you can like close it all up without having to remove any pieces. That's what I did. Anyway, that's what it looks like in the hand, and this looks incredible. This is a very nice and unique beam rifle design. Like I mentioned, you can remove the beam magazine like so, but sadly this does not fit in the hand. I wished it kind of would, so you could have some kind of cool reloading poses, or it removing the magazine, or just it holding onto the magazine for whatever reason, but it is a little too large to fit in the hands. Shooting back to the shield again, and we do have 2 spare magazines on this, but these are actually attached together, so they cannot be used in the weapon, but you can actually attach the single magazine onto the back of the shield like so. So if you do have a couple of these kits, you can mix and match the single and double magazines. So when this beam rifle is not in use, we do have a little bit of a tab up on the side right here. And what that means is when this is not in use, you can just pop it out of the hand like so. And we do have some tabs on the sides of the legs, which this can be popped into. So this right here is what it looks like when it is stored away on the side of the leg. I'm not sure if we're going to see more variants of the Gundvolva right here with more equipment, but there is more hard points here and on the inside too. So I'm excited to see. So now moving on to the shield, and I thought this would be a variant of what we saw with the Ur and the Thorn, but this is not. This is a much nicer shield, which is funny to me because this is essentially as disposable a mobile suit as they come. This right here is what we would have seen with the Thorn, so it is a little bit shorter, it doesn't have as much detail, and not nearly as many layers. The connection point is just this simple little bit right here, but what we have on the back of the Gundvolva is a sliding mechanism, so you can have it as long or short, or as far or as low on the arm as you want. So this is an incredibly nice shield. Like we saw, you can load up the beam sabers, you can load up some magazines, and to attach it, it's the usual arm attachment of just popping it onto the arm like so. So that's what it looks like on there, and like you, well, would guess, this can slide up and down seamlessly and absolutely beautifully. Just look at that. So finally onto the articulation, and when it comes to the overall build on this, it's just like we would have seen with the rest of the line so far, and that means it is rock solid. The build is great. I've only had one thing pop off while posing this, and that is the wrist. It really doesn't take too much to just knock them off, but besides that, everything doing well, even including those ankles that did look a little bit sketch at first. But like I mentioned before, if you've had any trouble with these heels, with the tilting side to side and stressing the joint inside, let me know down in the comments. So when it comes to the articulation on the high-grade Gundvolva, this is ridiculously impressive. I thought because this is, well, it's not even a grunt, it's less than a grunt, it's a drone, that it wouldn't do much, especially because it didn't do much posing in the anime. But yeah, this thing can pose up a storm. The legs are impressive. So much pivot at the ankles, those knees are ridiculously cool the way they bend. There is a little bit of limitation with the side skirting and the upper leg, but not so much. We've got swing out mechanisms in the shoulders, the neck is double jointed and looks fantastic, and just in case I forget entirely, this is the backpack and it has ball joints for these little thruster segments. They can move around ever so slightly, subtle, but work very, very well. Also, this does have the standard backpack adapter, so you can use this with other suits or make yourself an absolutely cool custom Gundam using this as a base. And this is one hell of a base for something I thought would be really simple. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and this is a hard one to rank. These kits have all been so good so far, so much so that I feel like this line should change the ranking system entirely, and I guess it should, but I'm gonna go with Platinum. This is a fantastic kit. The only issue I felt that it had was the heels around back, but they don't really seem all that problematic. Visually, this is astounding looking. There's not much stickers and they're in the usual sticker style areas, nothing all that critical. Besides that, we've got an absolutely fantastic looking Gundam whose design is so underutilized by being just a drone. Accessories wise, it's the simple board, sword and beam rifle, but the beam rifle has a removable magazine, and the shield is even better than we saw with outright Gundams. Lastly then is the articulation, and everything here is perfect. The only thing that's a little bit limited is the single point elbow bend, but besides that, this can pose up a storm. Be careful with the ankles because they may be delicate, not sure just yet. But yeah, one hell of a kit. Anyway, as always, I got this through Hobby Link Japan, link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. Once again, this video right here, and none of these videos would be possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and here on the channel memberships, including 10 Soldier YT, Caleb Engelhart, Dashil Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Lauren Seahack, Org59061, and Van Fawn.